no matter what tools you use or no matter where you met them, it doesn't matter. What matters is once you've met that human being, how are you going to engage with them? How are you going to treat them to bring that to the next level? So it doesn't matter the where or the how, it's what do you do afterwards that's important.
Welcome to MLM Nation, a podcast of leaders, by leaders, for leaders, hosted by Simon Chan. He's built a team of over 200,000 and is now a full-time MLM coach and trainer. So if you're ready to level up your business, join us now. Let's do this.
MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan. I'm fired up to bring our special guest today, Annie Marchand. Hey, Annie, are you ready to make it happen?
Of course I am.
Annie Marchand was a production coordinator for an entertainment news program before she got started in direct selling. Today, she's a full-time leader and a six-figure earner with a team of over 10,000 distributors. She credits her success to her ability to build long-lasting relationships. So, Annie, welcome to MLM Nation. I'll give everyone a brief intro, but please take us more back to your background. How did you go from production coordinator to learning about our amazing profession?
Well, actually, I attended an event where people were explaining the business. It was just as easy as that. I actually invited myself because I knew the products and I wanted to buy some. And so I attended an event, and the person in front talks about what it was. And I actually really needed to pay off a credit card debt that I had been putting together with travels and with going to the restaurants and all of that I didn't have the money for, but I put it on my credit card. And as a production coordinator, I was paid by the week. I didn't have the leisure of doing more hours to have more money. So, and that credit card was just building up and building up. And so I saw in that company the opportunity to be able to pay off my credit card. And that was it. I mean, the person who recruited me told me, oh, you could go further. And I was like, I'm not interested. I just want to, earn that $200 a month for now to make sure that I can pay off my credit card debt. And maybe I'm going to continue afterwards and see where it takes me if I want to pay for my trips. But it's really how I started. But after a year, I had replaced my salary. So I was doing 15 hours a week with that MLM. And I was doing 40 hours a week as a production coordinator. And I just realized then I was 28 years old. Oh, I was such a baby now. And all my friends were having kids. And I was seeing them running all the time, getting up, putting the kids to daycare, and I didn't want to have that lifestyle. So after a year, that's when I decided to try it full time, and I never went back. Every time I see a friend who works in television, I look at them and I go, I'm happy about my choice. Even though I really loved my job before, the liberty I get now is nothing compared to what I used to have.
So you said you first found out about the products. How did you find out about the products?
It was at a friend's house where the person was doing a presentation, and so I just learned about the products there. I knew it before because my mom used to have those products home, and so I already knew the products. But I thought I had a lot of those products, but I just had a few. I was not introduced to the lifestyle that goes with the product. So that's what happened at that person. And actually, when I saw the products before that a few times at presentation, but I guess it was the timing. And it's the first time I attended that kind of event where someone was really talking about what was the business and not just selling the products. So I think that's what's made the difference there.
You said you only wanted to make $200 a month just to pay off a credit card, but somehow you start earning more and more, able to replace your job. Did you have success right away, or took a while?
Oh, it did took a while. It did took a while because I was like, if you say when you look at the person in my type of company and you say what would be like the perfect qualities you need to succeed in that field, I would have been like -10. So I didn't have all the qualities. And actually, I truly believe when people ask me, what is the one quality you need to succeed in that business? And it's good for any type of business. It's your desire to succeed. I really wanted to pay off that credit card debt, so I was ready to make it happen. And it took me a while to when I compare it to other people in the business. Now it's very different because 19 years ago we were not into those social media. It was really person by person by phone was very different. But when I compare it, even a few years after, when it was still by phone and all of that, I was slower than most people.
A lot of people say they have desire, but you say you have a lot of desire. Give me an example of what you did that demonstrate you had really desire.
Well, I think when you when there's something that needs to be done that you don't want to do it, there's a phrase that I really like, which is people who succeed do what people that don't succeed don't want to do. I really needed to make those calls, and every time I would pick up the phone to call someone, either it was people from my surrounding or a cold call, I would go and like, don't pick up, don't pick up, because I felt like I was harassing people. But because I really wanted to pay off my credit card, I said I really need to do this. That's for me. It's like I know the products. I love the products. I just need to find how I can, take that passion for the products and give it to the person in front of me without sounding like without feeling like I'm harassing them.
Yeah. What was the turning point for you? So you were making you weren't good, but you had desires. Eventually, you start getting little results. What was a specific aha moment where things really started to take off for you?
Well, I was really lucky that it did happen quite rapidly. After a few months, I just realized that I remember like it was yesterday. I went to someone's house, and instead of just sitting down and explaining what I had to offer, I just sat down and I listened to what was the person's need. And I remember that person telling me, oh, no, I'm not really interested. And then I offered her, after listening to her, I offered her something really for what she really needed for her. And then she said yes, even though she said no before. She changed her mind because I just listened to what she had to say. So that's when I realized that if I listen to what people have, what need can I fill with my products? Because it's really good for everybody, but sometimes people just don't see how it can be useful to them. So that happened a few months after, and that really was a moment for me that I remember that really made a big difference. When you were talking at the beginning of I built my career on creating relationships. Well, part of that is really listening to the people and knowing how I can make a difference. Just like you do, you want to make a difference in people's lives in this business, and that's why you do what you do, and that's why you do it so well. It's the same thing, you succeed when I think you put the people first instead of, even though I have a goal and I have objective, and that's what keeps me going. When I'm in one-on-one with someone, it's really about them. So.
I think a lot of people think they listen, but they don't really listen. Right. So can you give us some tips about listening? Because that's such a big part of relationship building.
The first thing for me, because I think one of the most problematic we have, or what I see, is that when you start in this kind of business, you kind of want to be perfect, and you want to be perfect now. So the first thing, of course, you have to attend training to get to be able to help people out. But you have to be humble, and when you start to speak to someone about your product and let them know that you're new and that you don't necessarily know everything. I think a lot of people just answer whatever because they want to feel like they want the person in front of them to feel like they know everything. But when you don't know anything, first of all, people like that. about you when you're not perfect. And the second thing is, if there's something I'm not sure, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm not sure. I'm just going to check with my upline and I'm going to get back to you to make sure you have the right answer. So not trying to be perfect. And also another thing that I realized that when someone talks to you, sometimes if you're too self-absorbed, and I'm not talking in a negative way, I'm just talking in the fact that you want to have results and you're thinking about more about the results than the person, then instead of listening, you're thinking of what you're going to say next, which is such a wrong way to do things, because what I'm going to say next is based on what the person is saying right now. So it's really to be in the moment, listening and creating relationship is making people feel special. And you make people feel special, not by doing extravagant thing, but just by being there and listening to what they have to say and respond by an answer that they know that you've been listening and that you've been offering them something. Like if someone tries to sell me something to lose weight and I don't need to lose weight, why are you talking to me about that? That's an example, very obvious. So yeah, it's really about just being in the moment and not trying to think, but just really carefully listening to what the person has to say.
I had that issue too before, and I had this. One of my mentors told me to count to 1 second or 2 seconds. Do you have something like that, like to count inside 1 or 2 seconds, or take a deep breath before you reply back? But sometimes we have an urge, like I want to say something. I want to say what's next. Do you have something like that?
I don't, but I think it's really because I'm a natural listener. But that's a great advice. But I never had that. I never had that way of doing things. But I think that I do that naturally just to make sure the person is really done talking.
Yeah. I think another thing that was helpful for me was someone told me to rephrase the question. Like, so in this
Yes,
example, I'll be like, so Annie, you're saying that just being present and aware, that will help be a better listener, right?
absolutely.
And,
But
and
what
then
you're
you realize
saying,
that I was paying attention to what you were saying.
yes, but what you just said is also, well, now that you mention it, it's something that well, I don't necessarily do it every time, but rephrasing what the person just said to make sure that I understood correctly is something that I also do to make sure that that the person knows that I've listened to what she just said.
And everyone who's listening and watching, like another thing is when you rephrase, it buys you time to actually think about what you're going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true.
What other relationship building tips can you share? Because you're very, very good at it. Like, so let me give you an example then. What happens if you're at getting coffee and you see a stranger in front of you? What would you do in that situation?
Uh, oh my God, I do that. I've never really analyzed how I do it. I just think I like people, and I learn a lot from the people, and I think that's what's um, putting me out there to talk about the people. But I could be like in a store and I see someone grabbing something, and let's say I love that thing or I don't love that thing, I will say something about it.
Mm.
I don't necessarily talk to everybody I see when I grocery shopping, but if it does happen, I will say something to the person. Either I don't think you should buy that. I bought that and it's not as it was promised, or oh my God, I love this, or my kids love this, or so I'm not shy to really just approach with what's happening with the situation. I don't think really I ever, let's say at a coffee, I don't go to coffee shops very often, but I don't think I really start talking to a person right there, right now at a coffee shop. It's more about strangers, or more, I met strangers or talked to strangers more at sports events for my kids, let's say, and it's really about creating those relationships with what's happening. People want to talk. People like to talk about themselves. We all do. I mean, it's just a natural thing for everybody. So I guess let's say I'm at gymnastic with my girls, then I would start to talk to a mom about something that I see. Either it's something she's wearing or something she can tell me about herself. And I really do love that. It's not about, I don't have the business in mind when I do that. Sometimes I'm thinking I should more because I see some of my colleagues, sometimes they do things like that, but they always follow up very quickly with something about our business, but I don't necessarily do that very quickly. So for those who are not like that, hang on. It doesn't mean you won't get there, but it's really what I can make them talk about. Either it can be, where did you buy that coat? But it has to be sincere. If that, or I don't like the coat, I'm not going to ask about the coat. So it has to be sincere. My approach is really making them talk about themselves, because people love to talk about themselves, and because I learn from that. No matter what is happening there. If I'm asking a question, it's because I'm really interested about the answer.
Yeah. And I think that kind of recapping what you just said, you provide value. All leaders are providing value. So you talk about, hey, I bought this, it wasn't good, or this was really, really good. And you're getting people to talk about themselves. And I think you're thinking long term, right? Like long term, you're not thinking about the business. I mean, I think if you were thinking about the business, it probably wouldn't work, because it wouldn't come off genuine, right? If you immediately switch off to the business, I know that's for me. If you immediately switch to the business, and people are like, oh, that's the why you're complimenting me. But you really get genuine and sincerely care. And like you said, everyone loves to talk about themselves. And the more you get them to talk, the more they'll like you.
Yeah. And the more you will be able to help them with giving them what you have to offer with their specific needs.
Yeah. I think the more you let them talk, it also builds trust.
Yeah.
Right? Because most people are not listening. So the fact that you're listening to them, you're letting them talk, it builds a lot of trust. So you've been in this profession for what, 19 years?
Yeah, it's going to be 19 years, and actually on January 24th.
Well, okay. So in the 19 years, what is your worst moment in the profession? To the point maybe you had doubts about it, but you did not quit, and that's why you are where you are today.
I have to say there have been a lot of ups and downs. I just want to say that because a lot of people think that when you're successful, it's only up the hill, and it's not. Some minor, some bigger, COVID was a big hit for us because it really, really changed a lot of how we do the business. But I would have to say that one of the hardest moments I had to go through was, that was a long time ago, so it's very different than how we do the business now. But we used to have offices where we would do the training, and people would get there. We would have events. And at one point, my upline, who's like the business leader of our company, she's the one who's direct from the company. She decided, well, we didn't have enough space we were growing a lot, and we didn't have enough space in our office. So she kind of pushed me to open my own office, and I wasn't ready. But the error I did was trying to be her and to do exactly what she was doing. And that really it really was a downward, how do you say that in English? I'm sorry. Anyway, I went a spiral downwards. Anyway, because I lost confidence in me, because I was not being myself. And what I've learned from that's the thing, is you have to stay yourself. You have to be yourself. And I think that moment, I had my office for 1.5 years, and we realized we were working better together. And her and me, we are complete opposite. She is like the go-getter, and I'm the slow motion. And she's the visionary, and I'm the consistency. So we are very different. So me trying to be her was a disaster. So what I learned from that is, you have, no matter what, you still have to do it yourself, and to be authentic to who you are. Otherwise, people don't connect with you, and it still works. It's just, if you're not authentic, then people see it, and they don't connect with you on the same level. But it took me like 1 year of trying to do exactly what she was doing, to be me, and have success with that. I was already successful, but that was like another part of my business that I was not. I was just trying to be someone else. And in this business, one of the thing that happens a lot is when you see your peers being successful and you compare yourself, and this is so bad. You cannot compare yourself to anybody. We all have something unique to provide, and people will connect to you. They won't connect to somebody else for different reasons. And I think one of the reasons people quit is that they compare themselves to someone else, and they don't feel like they measure up, instead of just being themselves and providing services with what they have to offer, instead of trying to be someone else. Being someone else is always, it's never been a good way to do this business, but I learned that that happened about 5 years after I joined the business. So
you mentioned about consistency. How important is consistency to success?
Well, if you ask me, one of the habit that helped me throughout my business, that is consistency. And I know you love that answer because you're really all about that. But for me, and again, that really kind of happened not because I read a book, but because of who I am, because of my personality, but also because of how consistency made me feel secure. Because consistency, when you do things over and over, you get better at it, of course, and it brings you confidence, and it brings you a structure of how to work. Otherwise, you go every way, and you never get results. And if you always change what you do, or if you do it like 1 week, you go, and then the week after you're all too tired to do anything. So that's never. I'm not someone who's a performer. I'm really someone who's consistent. So I have to say that consistency is one of the 3 major keys of success, I would say, to where I am right now.
So do you have any habits or routines to help you stay consistent?
I have a great agenda. Everything is written down in there. I have color where I put everything into color, and I still leave space for being spontaneous and doing things, but I have all my actions are in a schedule. And when I started, well, not 19 years ago, but a year and a half, when I quit my job to do this full time, I didn't have any kids. And now I have 2 daughters. I'm married and I have 2 daughters that are 9 and 5. And so, of course, my structure changed, meaning and during that 19 years, I was single. I was just with a boyfriend, and I met my husband, and we're together, and we have a family. And through those years, of course, the actions change. But at the beginning, when I quit my job, it's because I was seeing my friends running around, and so for me, it was very important that I put my family first, even after 19 years, even no matter what the income is. If the company would tell me I have to lower if you want to still keep that check at the end of the year, you have to do like double the hours. I would say, okay, cut my check in half, because my family comes first. And so it's always with that in mind. So of course, when you have children and when you don't, the structure is not the same. My structure without kids was much more flexible. Now it's really, okay, you know what I mean? Yeah, you have 3 boys, right? 3 boys? Yeah. So you know what I mean? And I think they're about the same age. So it's really about having that schedule, that unbreakable schedule that brings consistency. And before changing anything, when I try something new, I don't change it after one time that I've tried and it didn't work, So it's taking the time to put something new, one thing at a time, and then you see if it works. If it doesn't, then you do something else. But at least you've tried it, not just like 2 minutes and then went on to something else, So it's really that agenda with an unbreakable schedule. Also, it brings me that when I'm not working, I'm 100% with my family. When I'm working, I'm divorced from my family. So for me, it's 2 different. Sometimes one of my girls would come in my office and give me a kiss, and that's fine, because that's another reason why I do this job. It's that to to be there for my kids, but that way, when I have that schedule set, it's much more easy to be consistent in my action, because I know, like today at noon, I had an activity that I do every Tuesday at noon. So for me, that's how it is, and that brings me confidence, and I know what I have to do, so I don't feel lost all the time.
Hey, you've been awesome. Thank you so much, Annie. As we go towards the end of the show, some quick questions to pick your brain. And it's just going to be quick, one sentence. The first one is, what is one of your favorite success quotes that motivates you?
Success. Okay. It's not necessarily related directly to success, but I would have to say one of the quotes that has been there for me all the way since the beginning is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, from John Maxwell.
What is one habit that's helped you become successful?
Consistency in my actions. That's definitely the one habit.
What are some actions you do every day? What actions are you talking about?
Every action I do every day?
Yeah.
Every day I look through my emails or answer on I use a lot of Messenger, so responding to messengers, comments on my Facebook group, connecting with people, sending information to my team, sending new messages to new clients, potential clients that I've connected to my group. Well, I do other things that are very focused, really related to my business, so that I don't want to say too much. That's why I have meetings, of course, every week on Thursday evening. We have a big organization meeting for training and recognition and inspiration. So every week I try to meet with my team, have video Zoom with people to help them build their leadership and get to know more to them. Talk to new recruits also. So these are just very quick. I have other very specific things, but these are like general things.
What is the best piece of advice you ever received?
It always goes in the same line. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but you have 2 ears and you have 1 mouth. So you have to listen twice as much as you speak. That was one of the best advice I ever got. Even though I think it does come naturally to me, it's still something that sometimes I have to remind myself, like anybody else. Sometimes when someone speaks, I still think about something else, So it's something that I repeat myself all the time to make sure that I still am there for the person in front of me.
What's your favorite prospecting tool? So say someone's interested right now. Do you send them a video? Do you do a phone call? Do you do a Zoom? Do you send a personal video? What do you like to use?
Most of it is by Messenger, I would have to say. It really depends on how I met the person, but it usually starts with a conversation on Messenger. Again, asking questions to get to know them. Sometimes it's a client that wants to buy the products, because in my company we have customers and distributors or consultant, I would say, are 2 different entities. It's not something that a client is a client that will buy from me. I will order the product. So it's very different from a lot of other companies. But if someone wants to buy products from me, then of course that's one of the best ways. So selling my products through social media will bring a response, and I will contact them and then turn them into prospect to recruit them.
What's your favorite app on your phone that's not a social media app?
I really, really like Wetransfer for documents. That's kind of boring though.
Oh, that's WeTransfer.
Yeah.
What are 2 or 3 books that you could recommend?
I love everything John Maxwell does. I mean, I'm a big, big fan of John Maxwell, who's like a superstar in leadership, because I'm trying always to build my leadership. I think it's something that I will build for the rest of my career, for the rest of my life. So I really, anything John Maxwell does, because he has also books that are very easy. Like the first one I read was the 21 Qualities of a Leader, because I didn't think I was a leader. So that is one that I really like. Actually, my upline wrote a book on MLM on how to sell 1 million in a year, or it's called 10 Steps to 1 Million of Sales in 12 Months. But I don't think it's on sale on Amazon. But I'm not sure you're going to find it anyway. It's one of the best tools because it's what kept me going to where I am. Because she's an amazing leader. She's a businesswoman, not just someone who sells to MLM. So she has other businesses that are very successful. So she's an amazing person that I've known for the last 20 years. And she just wrote a book about it. And that's one of the greatest tools that we work with right now. And another one would be The Game of Life, I think it's called. Sorry, I know it in French. So I think it's called The Game of Life from Florence, Scovel, Shinn. It's a very tiny book. And it's really about it's really the game of life. So how you play and how you attract what you want, but it's not like The Secret or anything like that. It's much deeper than that. So these would be like the three that I've made an impact more in my life.
Oh, what's the name of your upline that wrote the 10 Steps to 1 Million? What's her name?
Maria Mariano. If you Google, not Google it, but on Amazon with her name, you find it, but not with the title. I don't know why, but with her name, you can find it. Yeah.
And here's the last question, the $1 million question. You ready?
Yeah.
So imagine you had to start all over again and you knew no one. You didn't know your husband, didn't know your kids. You're like an alien that went to another universe, but you had all your current knowledge, skills, and wisdom. What's the first thing you do or the first place you go to build a network marketing business from scratch?
That's a very hard question. Actually, the where is not that important for me. If I go back to when I started, it was with like showcases, like a Let's Get Married kiosk or things like that. That's where we would get. So that would be like my first way of saying. But what I want to say more is that no matter where you start or where you meet the people, because now I think Marketplace is also a good place for us to have people in our business to join our Facebook group where you can create a private Facebook group for your clients. But even because we've met some people that created like 5,000 people in a day that they've added through like Marketplace, they use that in a certain way. But if you don't engage with them afterwards, no matter what tools you use or no matter where you met them, it doesn't matter. What matters is once you've met that human being, how are you going to engage with them? How are you going to treat them to bring that to the next level? I mean, I've seen people like breaking records of recruiting, but then you don't see their business growing. So it doesn't matter the where or the how, it's what do you do afterwards that's important. So, but I guess that would be things like that. I'm a people's person. So I do use the social media, of course, but because we have to, but I would go somewhere where I can actually meet the people.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much. As we wrap up, any last words or advice? And then what's the best way our listeners can connect with you?
The best way to connect with me is through Messenger. Definitely. I'm the fastest there. And if I have one piece of advice, my God, it's really, I won't give you tips about recruiting or selling. It's the first thing is you have to know what you want. You know, every time people succeed is because they have an objective, a goal of something that they want to achieve. The second thing is being consistent in the action. For me, no matter what you do, no matter how good you are at it, if you're not consistent, you're not going to get anywhere. And of course, consistency, yes, but you have to have also actions that are set, like unbreakable schedule of what you do. Otherwise, you just go running around making all those actions that will not bring you results. So So that's the one thing I would like people to leave with. You want to be successful, have an objective, be consistent, and make sure that you have an unbreakable schedule.
Hey, ML Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And today you've been hanging out with Annie Marchand. So keep up the momentum. Head over to mlnation.com and click on the podcast tab, and you see the show notes and nuggets of wisdom that Annie shared. Definitely go follow her on Facebook, connect with her as well. Hey, in order to be successful in life, in business, and network marketing, you must help others. So Annie, thanks again for sharing your valuable time with ML Nation. We're grateful to you, and we appreciate you for having a positive impact on millions of distributors worldwide. God, thank you so much again, and God bless.
Thank you, Simon.
Hey, ML Nation, Simon Chan, a quick recap from a great show from Annie Marchand. Hey, make sure you connect with her. Go to mlnation.com, click on the podcast tab, and the show notes, all the nuggets of wisdom will be right there. She's very active on Facebook. You check out what she does. And I think this episode, a couple of main aha moments. Number one was like, it's all about timing, right? She knew about the product, was interested in the product, and then she really didn't care about making that much money. She just wanted to pay off her debt, start off part-time, but one thing led to another. And then she had a tremendous desire. You know, she wasn't good at it. She's kind of doesn't like to pick up the phone. I think a lot of you don't like to pick up the phone. She was doing it back 19 years ago, more of a traditional way, but she did it anyway. And I think this reminds me, when she shared a story, it reminded me when I used to make these phone calls, I didn't want to do it. And my mentors shared, successful people do things that unsuccessful people don't. Right? Successful people do things that unsuccessful people don't. And most people don't like to pick up the phone. The phone weighs like 1,000,000 pounds. You're afraid of rejection. You're afraid of what people think. But you know what? You do that anyway. Successful people do it anyway. And that's the difference between success and not successful. Right? The successful people do it anyway, while the people who are stuck, they let fear judgment, what other people think of them, paralyze them and hold them back. And the aha moment was, instead of, this is basically, I think the nuggets of wisdom here about building relationship is being a better listener, right? She shared about, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should always listen to twice as much. And if you want to have better relationships, not just in business, but in personal life, listen more. And that's something, by the way, in my personal life, I've been to be a better husband. I've been making go to listen more than I speak. Listen more instead of giving feedback. Be a better dad, to listen more instead of immediately telling my kids what to do. Right? Listening is the key. And one of the, I shared a couple of things that I will count 1 second, 2 seconds before I reply back. Rephrasing is another way to make people know that you're listening, because when you're able to repeat back what they say, and you can simply ask them like, so what you said is blah, 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 right? Just rephrasing it, that means that they are heard. And people like to be heard. And you don't need to be perfect, right? But you do need to be a good listener. And when, it's funny, like when people think that when I first started, like to be good at closing and presenting, you got to be a good speaker. Now, somewhat true, but more important than being a good speaker is to be a good listener. Because when you're a good listener, the thing is, if you freeze up when you're talking, it's because you're thinking about what you're about to talk. And then you mess up. The more you think about it, the more you screw up. But if you ever notice that when you're with your friends and not in the business environment, you don't mess up? It's because you're focusing on being present and listening. And instead of like thinking about, what am I going to say next? How am I going to make it perfect? So be a better listener. Okay. Listen more. I like how she shared about her consistency and how things change. But I'm just going to skip to the end. It's like, it doesn't matter where you meet people. It's about engaging and listening, right? People like to talk. The more you let them talk, the more they will like you. And the 3 keys to success, what she said, is not about, it's about knowing what you want, being consistent, and having an unbreakable schedule. That's the key. And that's the key to consistency, having an unbreakable schedule. A lot of you who struggle with consistency, you let the people distract you. You say you're going to do something, and the next day 1 message, 2 messages come in, or some cool video comes up, your friend messages you, and you're distracted. Have that unbreakable schedule means you're zoned in, locked in. Just like this podcast, unbreakable. People, I think a couple of people message me, but I'm not reading them. I'm focused on you. I'm focused on delivering value here for you, right? And that allows the consistency. If you're not focused, you're not going to have that consistency. So have that unbreakable schedule is really important. So anyway, I could go on a lot of great nuggets about relationship building. And this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're building online or offline. These are timeless principles. I've been sharing that in the last 2 episodes, re-airing the classics from the ML Nation archives. By the way, if you're curious about the first 300 episodes, a lot of the legends we interviewed 8-9 years ago, those techniques still work because they're about timeless principles. So we had Danny Johnson, we had Lisa Grossman in the last 2 episodes. You can find these episodes on ML Nation, but also if you want to get a complete list, you can just search for ML Nation archive. You see that complete list there. But these are timeless principles that work. Because humans, doesn't matter what we are, we're still human. We like to be heard. We like to talk. So the more you let people talk and the better listener you are, the better you will do in not just business, but in life. Hey, thank you for listening. By the way, these episodes take a lot of my time, take Annie's time. Make sure you follow her and also subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. Make sure you do that. Head over there. Hey, I appreciate you all for listening. I'm loud and proud to be an amazing part of this profession. Now it's over to you. Take consistent action on what you learn. Be a better listener and go out there and have a positive impact in someone's life today. God bless you all.